Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to What You Want. Thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at the Patek Philippe Calatrava 5107J, 18 karat yellow gold. This watch is 37.5 millimeters in diameter and a very savory 9 millimeters thick. A thin watch, the quintessential dress reference, and really one of the choicest modern renditions of the Calatrava, the icon of the Patek Philippe manufacturer of Geneva. So let's put it straight on the wrist, because I've already told you how big it is. I want to give you a sense of how that wears. Now, at 37.5 millimeters, 9 millimeters thick, it cradles the wrist beautifully. It embraces, it wraps around. My wrist is 6 1/3 inches in circumference. That's 16 centimeters for our friends in Geneva. Bonjour. The bottom line is this watch has gorgeous span and curvature to it. It doesn't merely fit, it drapes itself. It melts over the wrist. Those beautiful classical Calatrava lugs really taper, not just end to end, longitudinally dropping off the side without overlapping. They also have a little bit of tumble home away on each side, sloping off to the sides just as they taper down the ends. Now I want to mention that the lugs on the watch are very fine. These aren't just tapered lugs. You can see from that head-on shot that they're exceptionally thin, exceptionally delicate. It's a gossamer aesthetic that really plays to Patek Philippe's aesthetic strengths. Now, there are straight lug versions of the Calatrava available, but I feel that if you want the full experience, you've got to get the tapered lugs. Now, there is a little bit of modernity to this watch, too. It blends a little bit of the old and the new. Those familiar with watches like the 5196 and the original reference 96 Calatrava of 1932 are going to notice some real distinctions here with the 5107, inasmuch as it features a crown guard. Now, the crown guard is one of those features that Patek Philippe introduced without removing the traditional models. They decided that it would be better to have both because people are going to favor different forms. Personally, I like it. I think it is well integrated. I think having that tapered lug flanking the case almost as an extension of the date aperture really works here. I feel that the crown on the side of a round case without any kind of shoulder to it lacks stance. It seems like a bit of an aesthetic orphan. So from my personal perspective, I really like the way those crown guards play. And I think they're quite consonant visually with the tapered lugs, which I feel are such an important part of this reference and really make the effect. I think it's integrated. I think it's coherent. Personally, I think it makes the watch wear visually a little bit bigger, gives it a bit more wrist presence. So that's one respect in which the 5107 departs from Calatrava convention. Now it returns to convention with the dauphine hands for hours and minutes, plus the stick indexes across all 360 degrees. The center seconds is a bit of an exception, but I feel it's both more visible and it cleans up the dial, just as the date window is also an exception to precedent. A classical Calatrava in the Henri Stern 1932 mold would not have a date, but to me, this is the everyday Calatrava. This is the watch with the crown guard for durability. It's got the date window for practicality. It has the center second for legibility and aesthetic balance. I just feel that this is the one to wear every day. If you want a Patek Philippe that is appropriate for any occasion, I feel the combination of size, visual presence, wrist presence, contemporary and practical features really makes the 5107 a modern classic in the Patek catalog. And again, I just think this is a constant companion. You might have high complications for special occasions. You might have your Nautilus for jumping in the water. But for me, I feel like this 5107J is the everyday Patek Philippe. I really feel like it stands shoulder to shoulder with the greats of the Patek Philippe Calatrava pantheon. It's up there with the 96. It's up there with the 5196. Now, taking it off the wrist for a moment, you could see that there's a gorgeous interplay of color here. Between the almost ecru off-white dial, it's supposedly silver, but the date disc is white. I can see that this is not perfectly white, nor is it perfectly silver. There's a little bit of contrast going on between those different elements. The gold of the hands and the indexes, the white of the date disc, the gold of the aperture for the date window, that off-white or even slight ecru of the dial, the black of the Patek Philippe marquee, and then of course the gold of the case and the black of the strap. There's a lot of contrast here, and I often find that's one of the weaknesses of colored gold watches, not enough differentiation. There are no such problems here with this Patek Philippe 5107J. Now turning it over, You can see one of the other highlights. This is a true Geneva seal Patek Philippe movement. It is caliber 315-190, being at 21,600 vibrations per hour. This is Patek Philippe's workhorse bidirectional winder. Unidirectional winder. This watch is classical in every respect, with Geneva waves, linear on the bridges, circular on the 21-karat gold winding rotor, with the Calatrava cross emblazoned. All of the screw heads are polished. All of the jewel countersinks are themselves polished. Poinçon de Genève on the bridges and the plates. Every edge is beautifully anglaged to a mirror finish, and of course you have Patek Philippe's signature Gyromax free-sprung balance. Very shock resistant. It will actually help to preserve the regularity of the watch over time, as there is no index that can accidentally be moved by a sudden jolt. An original innovation, it's been copied and licensed widely throughout the industry. Patek Philippe invented this in 1950, and it's been a signature ever since. So both technologically, in terms of the winding system, in terms of the Gyromax balance, the traditional 21.6 beat rate, mechanically it's distinctive of Patek Philippe, and with the Geneva seal finish, something they no longer do, by the way, since 2009, it's the Patek Philippe seal. You've lost a little bit of romance to the process, but this watch is in the aesthetic tradition of Patek Philippe, and with the Poinçon de Genève, the aesthetic tradition and the lineage of Geneva watchmaking. A beautiful kind of bygone era, but celebrated within this 5107J. This is an outstanding example of a watch that could complete a collection of Patek Philippe's for someone who has the entire catalog represented, a chapter of the company from every epoch of its vaunted history. This is the watch that could complete the collection. Alternatively, for the collector who is an admirer of Patek Philippe, who's looking for an essential reference, something that's really a cornerstone that's immediately recognizable, not an eccentric model, not an off-the-beaten-path model, or a model that's an exception to the rules, so to speak. This is the one that could form the nucleus of a glorious collection. Or if you're that guy who just wants to have one iconic Patek to flesh out a diverse and eclectic collection of watches, this Patek Philippe Calatrava 5107J in 18-karat yellow gold might just be the watch you want indeed. Now, it's available with comprehensive equipment from watchyouwant.com. Check it out on our website. I'm confident that if you're looking for a distinctive Patek Philippe, if you're looking for an outstanding dress watch, if you're looking for an outstanding and iconic Calatrava, this will in fact be the watch you want.